and welcome. Thank you for all coming out. Some of you came from long distances. We have somebody here from Italy, so applause to you. And what we're going to be focusing on the next couple days is some practical applications for using Galactic Trader in some the most effective ways. And this is going to be a different kind of workshop than other ones I've done in the past. I want to make it more hands-on, where you're going to be working with me. So when you go home, I want everyone to be able to think in a certain way and be able to apply everything you learn on your own. That's the goal. But to get there, you need to practice, and it requires that you think in a certain way. Okay, and if you notice here, something I put together called Core Concepts for Using Galactic Trader. I mentioned think like an astrologer, but act like a trader. What does that mean, to act like a trader? Well, you got to think in probabilities, money management, have technical tools, limit your risk, have profit targets, and be reasonable. But to use Galactic Trader in an effective way, you have to think in an astrological way. It requires a certain way of thinking, which I'm going to be showing you in a simplistic way. And the good thing about this approach is it doesn't matter if you know nothing about astrology. It doesn't matter if you know what the signs mean. I don't care if you don't know what Aries means, or if you're a Scorpio and what the characteristics of that mean, or what houses mean, even aspects, okay? With the most important thing for using Galactic Trader to get on the fast track is understanding harmonics, which I'm going to be going over, or aspects. Those two words will be used interchangeably over the next couple days. And knowing how to apply the correct settings to what are called planetary lines, or the price conversion of the longitude of the planets into price, and understanding how to adjust your settings properly and use the correct factors correctly for the markets that you're trading, or the time frame you're trading. And I'm going to get into all of these fine points over the next couple days. A little bit about myself. Some of you that don't know me, I'm Ted Phillips, T.S. Phillips. I've been a professional astrologer for over 10 years now, and got into financial astrology about 10 years ago. And I've been using Galactic Trader for over about 8 years, I think, right now. And I work with Galactic Trader 8-10 hours a day. And there's a wealth of information in Galactic Trader, and there's some areas of Galactic Trader I don't even use, or I haven't even investigated or explored, because it's encyclopedic. The amount of information. It's like the study of astrology. It's never ending. It's a life study, and so it is with the markets. But I've discovered through trial and error, the hard way, what works and doesn't work in the markets using these tools. And I know the fast track to get you on the road to using this effectively. And it's even easier if you're not a skilled or knowledgeable astrologer or astro whiz, maybe like myself, because if you're a trader going into this, you already know how to think like a trader. It's much harder, I think, if you're an astrologer and you go into trading like I did, because then you have to learn trading and technical analysis and think in a certain way. But I am a professional astrologer for a number of years. I am also, I moved into the area of financial astrology as a analyst, and I have a service for the E-mini and any market. My website is astroadvisor.com, and it's one of the top websites now in astro trading. It's one of the top 3 on the search engines. So I'm very active as an analyst for people and traders. And I trade myself, longer term and shorter term. So and I also teach for Galactic Trader. I got involved with Galactic Trader. It's now been 2 or 3 years since Thomas and Jeannie retired. And I love Galactic Trader. I love this stuff. I love astrology, and that'll probably come out over the next couple days. And something about Galactic Trader and the way I think are just is a perfect match, you know, and I think you'll all get there once you start to think in a certain way and apply these tools in a certain way. And you're all here for a certain reason, because you're receptive to looking at the markets in a different way. And you know, this makes you part of the trading elite, by the way. You think differently than other traders. You're open-minded, and a lot of these things or tools are not to be shared with the general public because they're not quite ready for it. You have to have somebody that's open and receptive to it to understand and appreciate and apply these tools. So hopefully after the next couple days you'll go home and be galactic traders. What does it mean to be a galactic trader? Well, galactic has to do with space, and hopefully that will mean that your returns will be out of this world. That's the goal. And I know a lot of astro traders that have been using these tools for a number of years, and they do phenomenally well. I know some astro traders that trade and get returns better than myself. I know some that get triple-digit returns. I mean, you know, 1,000% returns or more. They don't talk about it, and they're, you know, pretty private about it. And I have a lot of big fund clients that use this, that subscribe to my services, and they keep it pretty quiet, and that helps them outperform the rest. So if you're looking for that special edge, this is it. And I'm also going to be going into over the next couple days basically how to define a trade setup based on a reversal day, the correct price levels to look for, and then some basic technical indicators on how to enter the market and define your profit targets, your risk level, stop loss points, and give you the days in advance to be prepared for reversals and during the times of the day for reversals. But to begin with, since I do have some brand new people here that don't have the software or are just getting familiar with it, and this would be an excellent review for people that have been using the program for a long time, I've put together some basic concepts that I'd like to review for the first hour and a half. And the way I'm going to be doing this the next couple days, I'm going to be speaking probably for about no longer than an hour and a half. We'll take probably like a 10-15 minute break and then go another hour and a half. And today, after lunch at 1 o'clock, we're going to break at 12, come back at 1. We have Tim Bost going to be speaking right after lunch. And he's going to be talking about another added feature to our program where we included the trans-Neptunians and other planetary points and other approaches that I don't use, and he's more of an expert on, and he's going to be sharing his knowledge over many decades, and he is a top-notch financial astrologer, trader, and he's going to be sharing some of his own insights using these other, you know, astronomical points and techniques. So to begin with, there's 5 basic concepts for using this program effectively. The first one is understanding that we're converting the longitude of the planets, it's LONG periods for longitude, converts to price. That's just the basic core concept to start with. And then there's planetary aspects that have to do with angles between planets. There's harmonics, which have to do with aspects. So I'm going to be using aspects and harmonics interchangeably. There's the factoring of the planetary lines. We're converting price, longitude into price, but there's different potential factors which has to do with multiplying, dividing by 10, or price conversion of the planets. And that is an art in itself. And there's also the use of mirror lines, which is an inverted position of planets, which I'm going to be explaining. And I'm going to be trying to go over all these 5 items this first session as a foundation. But it's basically putting all of this together, aspects, harmonics, factors, and mirror lines. Putting all these tools together is a creative process, and after you do it for a number of years, it'll become an intuitive process. Where, see, I can look at a chart and I'll know if it's right or wrong with the settings or the lines automatically. You'll get a feel for how this works. And then you let the market speak to you. You let the chart speak to you, not literally, of course. Unless, you're staring at charts for too long. But it'll tell you if it's right or wrong with precision, with precise highs or lows. And I have a lot of chart examples that will demonstrate this that I'm going to have you recreate. So to begin with, I'll probably be sitting down since I'm going to be at the computer a long time today. I want to just go over your second sheet. I put together something on planetary speed. So when I say longitude of the planets converts to price, we're taking the positions of the planets that move at different speeds, and we're converting that longitude into price. And you can study this. I'm not going to get into all the details about the planetary cycles, but I do mention the speed of the planets geocentrically, heliocentrically. We have a circle of 360, which is based on the ecliptic or the path of the sun. We divide that by 12, gives us 30 degrees for a sine. One sine equals 30 degrees. And these planets move at different speeds. The moon moves about a degree every 2 hours, spends 2.5 days in a sine. And the moon is a very big, important planet for intraday trading and for reversal times during the day. And I came up with a whole technique for what I call day trading the moon. And I've written a few articles on this in Trader's World and for our almanac. And it's amazing how effective it can be. You can set up your planetary lines, your settings, just based on aspects for the moon. And I'm going to be showing you how to simplify all these settings so you don't get overwhelmed with too much to do. But if you're just a day trader, you can make up your charts based on the aspects of the moon. Today, for example, is a Fed meeting. We have a Moon-Mars aspect at 135 degrees. It's called a sesquisquare. And that happens around 2:25 Eastern. And it's amazing how often these aspects become exact at the precise time of economic reports, the announcements, or Fed announcements. It's in sync with all these major events that occur. So that's like a reversal time today to be aware of. And the moon is very important for intraday trading, to keep that in mind. Now, we consider the moon, Mercury, Venus, the sun, and Mars are considered inner planets. And they tell you days of the week, or usually within a day or two of the aspect with an inner planet, reversal days of the week to be prepared for when you do your homework. So the inner planets are triggers for reversals. And any time there's an exact aspect between a planet during the day, that can trigger a reversal too around that time. So think of the inner planets. They're faster moving. They apply to aspects to the slower moving planets, and they give you the days for reversals. The moon gives you the time for reversals during the day. The outer planets are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And these tell you when the major longer-term shifts or turns in the market are to occur. Okay? These are more general time periods. This could tell you a month period during the month where there should be a turn in general. The inner planet makes it more specific, tells you the day, or within a couple days usually. So we look at the outer planets on our longer term charts. For our weekly, monthly charts, we're going to be setting up the planetary lines based on the positions of the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I also include the nodes, which is roughly a 19-year cycle. I think it's 18.6 years to be exact. So the reason we have aspects or angles between planets is because the planets they move at different speeds, and they're at different distances from the sun. And I want you to think of aspects as time. Time equals aspect. So we're defining when price and time are equal. We're looking at the time factor based on an aspect between planets. We're converting that aspect into price as confirmation that it's correct. Price is at the correct level based on that aspect in time. And when that happens, the market reverses. It terminates trends. Whether it's uptrend, downtrend, it will terminate a trend when price and time are equal. But it's our job to determine this, and there's an art to it. And there's the use of factors, there's the use of mirror lines, and it's putting all these tools together in a way that makes sense, which I'm going to be teaching you how to do. Well, let me go out of here. Now, what you see on the screen here now is something from the Universal Clock Book. I do recommend the Universal Clock Book to everybody that is new to the program or who's had it for a long time. It will lay a basic foundation for using this program. And we have 12 signs. There's 30 degrees in a sign, as you can see on the screen here. But you have to think in terms of longitude around the circle. So you have to think in terms of 0 to 360. So if a planet's at 7 degrees Sagittarius, it's really 247 degrees of longitude. You have to think of 247. And then when I get into factors, that could be 2,470. It could be $24.70. It could be $2.47. It could be 24.7 cents. So you have to think in those terms.
The multiple to 10?
It's, yeah, dividing and multiplying by 10. There's another sheet that is included in the Universal Clock Book called The Conversion of Planets to Dollars and Cents. And basically, we have from 0 to 360, the zodiac. And in this example, 5 is circled and Aquarius is circled. So if a planet's at 5 degrees Aquarius, you would just go over to the chart and you would look up 305. So that would be equivalent to 305 degrees of longitude, because Aquarius is starts from 300 to 330 degrees of longitude. So if a planet's at 5 degrees Aquarius, it's 305. And you think of 305, you think of 30.50, you think of $30.50, $3.05. And if price is at that, it's at the longitude of the planet at 5 degrees Aquarius.
So what about if you looked at the Dow or something like that? How would that, if we lined up like that, how would you equate that to a Dow price?
Well, it would be 3,050 plus a multiple of 360. And I'm going to get into that. That has to do with the first harmonic. And these numbers repeat in multiple at the first harmonic because there's one revolution around the circle. They repeat at increments of 360 for the circle. Because the circle of 360 is a cycle of completion. That's from a conjunction to a conjunction. So you would add multiples of 3,600 or 360. And here's another sheet from Universal Clock on aspects. Instead of reinventing the wheel, I just put these on here. So you can visually see what it looks like. A conjunction, here's a conjunction from the Earth's perspective. If we're looking at things geocentrically with Mercury and Saturn, they're in a straight line. That means they're 0 degrees. Their Mercury moves 45 degrees. That's called a semi-square. 60 degrees is a sextile. Square, 90. trine 120, sesquisquare 135. We're going to have this angle between the moon and Mars today around 2:25 Eastern, around the time of the Fed announcement. I'm going to show you how to set up your planetary lines based on these harmonics and angles. And then we have an opposition when Mercury is opposed Saturn here from the Earth's perspective. So if you can think this way with aspects, if you see 45 degrees between planets on your aspects research, you're going to be putting in your planetary lines based on that aspect. And in your program it says UC division. That stands for universal clock division. And the planetary lines default to 24, heliocentric 24. In the examples I'll be using over the next couple of days, it will be based on a geocentric approach. And I use a geocentric approach because I'm an astrologer and I think that way. You can use a heliocentric approach, and these tools work just as effectively. Sometimes I combine both. And but the program defaults to Helio H24. So you'd be adjusting your settings to G. You double click on H to G, which I'll show you, and you would be changing your settings to 45 for the semi-square. You change it to 60, change your UC division to 90 if there's a square between planets, so and et cetera, for all of these different aspects. And that gives you the correct harmonics for price. And this is along the same lines as what Gann talked about in the law of vibration. If any of you have his courses, he gives you numbers and price vibration, and it's all based on this stuff that he never talked about publicly. So as a quick review, with factoring, I'm going to get into this concept. If a planet's at, say the sun's at 26 degrees Aries, at factor 0, it's $26. At factor +1, we're multiplying by 10. That could be $260. At 2 or +2, it's $2,600. At factor -1, it's $260. Factor -2 is 26 cents. It can be any one of those. How do you know which one it is? Well, it depends on the market you're trading, the price level of the market you're trading. It also depends on the time frame you're trading. Some of these factors make more sense in some time frames than others. Okay, if you're using a -2 factor, 26 cents, that means at this, say, first harmonic, if prices are at 26 plus 36 increments, that might make sense in a faster time frame, but you get into a slower time frame like a daily or weekly chart, that's not going to make sense. You're going to have too many lines on your chart. So you have to adjust the factors according to the time frame you're trading and the price level of the market you're looking at. I am going to be, question?
Okay, so let's say you have an aspect. So let's say you have a conjunction, some kind of conjunction. Now, how do you pick 26 degrees out of conjunction? What do you do? Let's say we have the sun and Jupiter. The sun, maybe the sun's at a certain degree, and maybe Jupiter's at 45 degrees. And you set the sun at, I don't know, 30 degrees or something. So they meet. Now, how do I figure those numbers? Do I look? I don't see that. How do the degrees of when I get two different ones, how do I?
Different aspects. How do you determine the correct? Well, that would be on the based on. That would be based on the aspects, which I'll be teaching you. I'll be showing you. Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. But that will be based on the aspects between the planets and setting it up. That has to do with the harmonics. Yeah. And another thing I'm going to be revealing which is some new stuff. And I appreciate everybody signing the non-disclosure over the next couple days, because a lot of this stuff is new material which will probably be included in a future book, or some of this stuff might be a new add-on indicator in our program. But I want to kind of open you up to new possibilities of using the concept of confluence. And I'm not just talking about Fibonacci and planetary. I'm going to be showing you examples of that. I'm also going to be showing you confluence of planetary aspects, or aspect points that all come into the same point to the same price level. I created a term called planetary price convergence zones. Kind of sounds cool. Or it's just planetary price confluence points. And these are much stronger than just determining when a price level based on one aspect. When you have 2, 3, or 4 aspects that all come together at the same price, these are extremely strong support and resistance numbers that the market is much more likely to reverse off of. But you can also use confluence in terms of factors. So how do you know what's the right factor? Sometimes I'll put 2 different factors on, and I'll look at where the lines come together. And I've discovered that it works like magic sometimes, how effective it is. And I have some chart examples in your book that combines factor confluence, which is using this in a way you may never have thought of before. So, I look forward to doing these things every year, because every year I learn new things, discover new things, and I can share it with you, because there's always something new. And once you start working with these tools, it kind of takes a life of its own on. You know what I mean? Ideas start looking for you instead of you looking for them. You'll wake up in the middle of the night with something new, or during your trading or something, you'll discover something new. And all these new things come to me all the time, and then I test them, and some of them are very powerful ideas that you can profit from. But this is one way you can use factors, and sometimes you don't know what's the correct factor, and price might make a low or a high at one factor. It might not make any sense, but another factor might make perfect sense. So factoring has to do with multiplying and dividing by 10. It's as simple as that. But you have to get skilled at adjusting the factor in your program. It defaults to factor 0. Now, an example of longitude converted to price at a price harmonic. The Sun at 26 degrees Aries opposed 180 degrees Jupiter at 26 Libra. You'd be setting up your planetary lines at the 180 setting. At factor 0, it's 26 plus 180. Factor 1 or plus 1, it's 260 plus 1800. At minus 2, it's $2.60 plus 18. So if the price gets factored, then the universal clock division based on the aspect gets factored. Does everybody understand that? So if you see a 180 degree aspect, don't just think 180, think 18, think multiples of 18. That's the price vibration of that aspect. That's the price vibration of that harmonic. Think $1.80. Think 18 cents. And it's very important to use this program effectively that you adjust your harmonics. If you're day trading or swing trading in a daily time frame, you adjust your harmonics almost every day. Now this is something I don't think anyone has ever taught before, but the planets are always changing every day. So you have to change your settings every day, because nothing stays the same. Nothing's fixed in time. What may work one day or what may work in the past is not going to work in the future, because the planets are always moving. Yeah, well yesterday, for example, we had a Moon trine Mars aspect, and the tie of the day came in. It was shortly after the Moon-Mars aspect. I think it was 20 or 25 minutes. That almost timed the top of the day, and then the moon went void of course and was all over the place. Void of course means when the moon is completes its last aspect or major aspect to a planet and is kind of in limbo, there's no other aspects it's going to make before it changes signs.
Is that in the program?
The program will,
Just have to figure it out.
yeah, it will determine the time of an aspect and then when the time when the moon changes signs. So it's that period between the last aspect and the moon changing signs. The moon is considered void of course. Now the other tool, effective tool, is what's called the mirror lines. So if we have a 0, 360 point, which is 0 degrees Aries, the starting point, if a planet's at 26 degrees longitude, its mirror is 360 minus 26, or 334 degrees of longitude. So if a planet's at 334 degrees of longitude, what degree of the sign is that? Astrologers out there. If a planet's at 334 degrees longitude, what degree and what sign? It's 4 degrees Pisces. So if a planet's at 26 degrees Aries, its mirror is at 4 degrees Pisces. So it's the inverted position of the planets. This is something Thomas and Jeannie discovered, and they integrated into the program, and it's amazing how effective it works. It just nailed the bottom of the June gold contract on last Thursday. What date was that? The 28th? Or the 29th? 29th. Okay? And that gave me a buy signal based on that. That was a trade setup. I don't just buy based on that. That is a trade setup. So when price and time are equal, we get a precise high based on an aspect, precise low based on an aspect. That defines a setup. And then you use some of your other indicators to buy or sell. So I'm going to be showing you how to determine these. So we just had one that was based on the mirror line between the Sun and Jupiter, based on a trine. Now I want to go back. I want to go back into harmonics now. Or go introduce this other sheet you have. I put together something quickly on harmonics, which has to do with aspects. And the good thing about all of this in astrology, astrology really stands for astrologic. It's the most logical thing in the world. And all of these tools you learned today are very logical. If they're not logical, you're not using them in the right way. So if you think of harmonics, think of a big circle or a piece of pie, and you're dividing it up in pieces. So if you have a circle and you have the whole circle by itself, right? That's like the conjunction or first harmonic. That is the strongest harmonic or planetary line. And that will always be reflected in the program by being a thicker line than the rest. So I've listed the harmonics in order of strength from strongest to weakest. And this is based on the division of the circle. And if you think about it, a conjunction is going to happen a lot less frequent. The least frequently, the least occurrence is less frequent occurrence is going to be on the conjunction compared to any of the other aspects. Then you have the second harmonic, which is 360 divided by 2, or 180 degrees, or opposition. And that's dividing by 2. So if you have a price hitting a first harmonic line versus 180 or second harmonic line, which one's going to be stronger? The first. Because you're looking at a 0 degree aspect versus a 180 degree aspect. The conjunction in astrology is the strongest, most powerful, most intense aspect that exists. Its key word for conjunction is fusion. It's a fusion of energy. And if you were born with conjunctions in your chart, you're basically one with those planets, whether you like it or not. You're fused together with those planets, and you're inseparable. Yeah, well, with the moon during the day, yeah, you would have more conjunctions because of the speed of the planet, but right, because it moves more slowly. So for intraday stuff, that would be something, but that's the most intense aspect. But it occurs less frequently, so that's going to be stronger. And then we have the third harmonic, which is 360 divided by 3. A harmonic is basically the circle of 360 divided by a number. Third harmonic is 360 divided by 3, or 120, which is the trine. So if you see Price hitting a second harmonic 180 line versus a third harmonic 120 line, you have to know what harmonic that line's at. Because it's going to be stronger if it's a 180 line versus a 120 line. And then we have the square, which is a 90 line. The fifth harmonic, 72. The sixth harmonic is 60. Eighth harmonic is 45. Now, when you get into the program, and you're going to notice on some of the reversal days in aspect research that 135-degree aspects will be coming up. When there's a 135-degree aspect, I recommend the 45 setting. And the reason is that 135 does not go evenly into the circle of 360, but 45 does. And 135 is a multiple of 45. It's 45 times 3. So I recommend that setting. The universal clock settings, degrees, are 24. That's the 15th harmonic, or 360 divided by 15. Now this setting works very well when planets are at a multiple of 24, or what's called crossing the 24 line of the universal clock. And does anybody know what outer planet just crossed the 24 line? I mean outer planet. The planet Uranus just crossed the 24 line. It hit a multiple of 24. It hit 6 degrees Pisces. And I can show you a chart right now on the NASDAQ, which gave a buy signal on Friday. The settings here are at 24. The Uranus price line, G for geocentric 24, N for no mirror, 0 for factor 0. See that precise low? That's the sort of thing you're looking for. So we bounced back up off of that on Monday. So that is support, around 922. That is what's called a precise, correct low based on the Uranus crossing the 24 line. So when planets hit these harmonics around the time of at the right price level, or if Uranus is crossing 24 and the price hits a low at the 24 line, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that's a signal that will terminate the trend if it's precise.
So it doesn't have to be an aspect. You don't have to have an aspect.
In this case, with the universal clock, it could be a planet crossing the 24. It doesn't have to be an aspect. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, usually we're looking at aspects, but the harmonics are based on aspects. But with the universal clock, we're looking at just a multiple of 24 in this case. That's a good question.
So Ted, again, I mean, you see all kinds of things crossing at 24, but basically you're saying you see on the research that it crosses at 24, put the line up, if it does close, or I mean, if it does become an exact aspect, then we know that that's a valid signal. If, for example, it didn't close on the 24, or if you touch the 24, then we say, okay, that's not
No.
kind of price didn't come together, so we don't pay attention.
Yeah, or it could be going to another planetary line, or it could be another planetary aspect or harmonic. The thing with this analysis is we're not predicting where price is going. It's not about prediction. And that's where astrologers get into trouble with trading. I don't want to predict when I'm looking for opportunity. You just want to be prepared. You put your settings up, and you're just going to be a watcher, an observer of what price does, how it reacts at certain planetary lines.
Well, my point being, you mentioned that because it was an exact aspect, and you have mentioned a couple of exact aspects, time and price come together, they were more likely to have a trend reversal because of that. They came together. Uranus crossed the 24.
Yeah.
And identical. So more likely to have a trend reversal.
More likely to, yes. Okay. Yeah, if price is trending down, I'm anticipating a reversal here. Right. However, if the momentum's strong or the market crashes, we don't just buy unless we get other confirmation. What if price crashes down to the next level?
Right.
What if there's some explosion somewhere and it doesn't hold, it goes down to the next Uranus line, which could be, what, 306, or excuse me? Well, that would be 240 because it's at 2024. 240 points lower.
But then, the second part, I guess the real part of my question was, is if Uranus crosses the 24 and we're nowhere near those lines, okay, then we're not necessarily looking for a trend change because Uranus went across the 24 and it wasn't anywhere near our...
Based on the Uranus crossing the 24, that would be correct. However, there could still be a change in trend based on another aspect or harmonic. That's why we can't just use one. We need to put a multiple of planetary lines on based on aspects and observe what happens around those price levels.
Let's say your Uranus crossing 24, but it's aspecting with Venus, and Venus is crossing 24. So it's conjunction.
Yeah, if they're both crossing the 24, they'd both be at the same. That would be even stronger at that level. That would be like an aspect when two or more planets cross the 24 line at the same time. That's like a conjunction. It is at the 15th harmonic. Well, at the multiple, they're both at a multiple of 24. It's like a conjunction at that harmonic. So that would be even stronger. They'd both be at that same price level. So, oh yeah, when two or three, I have example a top in gold I'll show you when I get to the universal clock, where 4 planets were in the 24 line. And we had a precise high based on that. And that was the top in gold in January. We had a double top earlier in March, I think. And that was with 4 planets crossing the 24 line. Actually, I wrote about that in the, I forecasted a major reversal around, change in trend around the beginning of January based on that. So these are some of the things to look for when you work with a universal clock.
So when you look at your hot numbers would be 24.
Or multiple of 24, depending on the market.
Most markets.
Yes. Yeah, it's strong. It's strong when there's a planet crossing that. Well, that's a good question. Well, so for an index trading in the 1900s, right, I would give it, 1 or 2 points, maybe a few points. But what's significant here is it went, a point, less than 2 points below, but it closed right at it. So that's precise enough for me. See down here, it broke through a little bit, but didn't continue down. If a planetary line is going to fail, and you know for sure, you would look for the bar to close through the line in a downtrend, and then you look for the low to be taken out as a continuation signal. And actually, I don't mind when planetary lines fail because they're good continuation signals, and that means that price is going to continue to the next planetary line. In this case, back in March, we closed through the planetary line, but then we reversed back up. But this is much more precise here last week at the Uranus line with Uranus crossing that. So that's more significant to me. Well, in a downtrend, then you look for that, the bar that closed through, the low to be taken out as a continuation signal. And then in an uptrend, if the price bar closed above the line, planetary line, then you look for that high to be taken out as a continuation signal. So hopefully over the next couple days you'll understand, have a better understanding of harmonics and understand why certain planetary lines work at some times and why they don't, why they fail and why others work. That's one of the problems people have with Galactic Trader, is they don't know when to apply the lines, how to put the settings on correctly, and they don't understand when they don't work. Well, if the lines don't work, it's because it's not based on the correct harmonic or aspect, right? That's the main reason, or the factor isn't correct.
At that point over here on the 22nd of March, and you probably wouldn't even have had the Uranus 24 line on there because it wasn't crossing the 24 line or wasn't making an aspect on those days during that time.
Right, I wouldn't
be looking at it at this time.
Right, exactly. So that's what makes a planetary line quote unquote hot. It's a hot line, it's an active line, it's an activated line, is when an aspect is occurring. And you have that line set at the right harmonic for that aspect. At other times, that setting, that line's not going to be as strong, and price will just go straight through it.
You said something about confirmed low. So you call it confirmed low in the sense that it has the line, but not a confirmed low as far as the trade is concerned, because it has that
I mean, confirmed is it's at the correct price level. When I say confirmed, I'm looking for other indicators technically.
Right, I guess it's not confirmed technically, it's confirmed.
Yes, planetary-wise. But I was also looking for a reversal on Monday, and that's because there were some other aspects occurring that would point to a reversal.
Is there some way you can, I think you were here for this point, is there some way you manage that data? Because I mean, you try to figure every aspect that can possibly happen, every line can possibly happen. How do you manage that data? You just look for the hot ones when there is an aspect?
But that's a good question. Yeah, you don't want to get over... Yeah, you don't want to get overloaded. Well, you could focus on the strongest aspects. And that relates to harmonics, and I want to go back to that sheet. Yeah, you could focus on these aspects, the major ones. First, second, third, fourth harmonics. Because those are going to be the strongest planetary lines. But you can get a reversal on any harmonic. Just realize that some of these are not going to be as strong necessarily, but you can get a precise high or low that can terminate a trend based on any one of these harmonics. But 15th harmonic are the universal clock divisions, 24. And then you can break this down further, and you notice like 22.5 is the 16th harmonic. It's basically dividing the opposition at 180 by 2, a few times. So 180 divided by 2 is 90, divided by 2 is 45, divided by 2 is 22.5, divided by 2 is 11.25, divided by 2 is 5.625, divided by 2 is 2.8125, I believe. See, these are different harmonics within an aspect or harmonic. I call these relative harmonics, which I like to put in like a future book or workbook. But you can work with these harmonics and divide them in half also, which is something hopefully I'll show you how to do over the next couple days. But I don't want to get into complex, complicated things. I want to keep things simple, and basically you can just put in your settings based on the aspects, adjust the factor, and go with that.
When you say strongest harmonic, do you mean in terms of probability or strength of reversal?
In terms of probability, yeah, and strength of reversal. So the probability of a first harmonic line is going to happen less frequently, say, than a third harmonic line. So the probability of that hitting that is less.
Sorry,
I mean, is that what you mean?
if one had a first harmonic and third harmonic in one
I would say, yeah, I would say probabilities are stronger of reversal on the first harmonic. Is that, I don't know if I, is that,
Yes, the probability of first harmonic, is that also linked to the term, when you say the 1/4 or the strongest, and also the strength of reversal?
yeah, I would say this, well, the likelihood probability is stronger if a higher low occurs at the stronger harmonics in this order. And yes, and the strength of the reversal. A great example of that is the bottom of the stock market earlier last year was in March. And we have a users group, by the way. I make a lot of posts, and there's some other traders that make posts. It's Galactic Trader Users Group. You can join from the galacticinvestor.com site. And we had the reversal last March based on a Venus-Neptune conjunction, which is the first harmonic, with Venus-Neptune at the 24 line of the universal clock. And that time, the exact bottom of the stock market in March at the precise low. And that was the S&P 500, S&P cash. That was posted at our users group. And a lot of the traders, that was all over the map. So a lot of traders jumped all over that. And that was time to go long. And that terminated the trend. And that was the bottom. That was a major bottom. So that's an example, say, of a first harmonic. And when you see something like that, that's going to be a lot stronger than, say, other aspects, based on other aspects. What was the date last? Was it 24th? What was it, March? I have to look it up. Sorry, I'll get it for you. Yeah, well, when we get into the price charts, we'll go back there.
Do you have a planetary definition of trend, like, it comes down and it goes through, it goes through? Or do you have a technical definition of trend, or do you have like two definitions?
Trend, I use the trend, I use the swing chart as a trend. I use the Gann swing chart a lot. I look for 2 consecutive highs or lower lows. And I work with it in that way, and I use the multiple time frame approach for the trend, which I recommend integrating or using both. If you have the Fibonacci, if you don't have Fibonacci Trader, you need technical tools, and it has everything you need you possibly want, and they complement each other with the Galactic Trader tools. So as you can see, there's more harmonics here. Here's 32nd harmonic. That's 11.25 I mentioned. And you can really break it down and get into this. And all of these can be effective, and you can use these in faster time frames, and you can get reversals off of any of these. But some are stronger than others. So you have to keep that in mind when you're doing your analysis, is ask yourself, what harmonic is this occurring at? And I want to go to the universal clock here. I think we have about 5 minutes, 10 more minutes. I want to take a break.
Sorry, the aspect of 150 degrees, I don't know what the name in English.
Yeah, the question.
Consider it because it's not harmonic.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I was going to cover that. The 150 aspect, the quincunx aspect, when that occurs, I recommend using the 30 setting, because 150 does not go evenly into 360. So I recommend the 30 setting. And that's one of those weird aspects.
Is it 10 times 20 for harmonic?
Yeah, at the 24th harmonic, at different factors it could be 150 relative to 3600. But 150 relative to 360 does not go evenly, so if that's the case, I recommend the 30 setting. On your program, if you go to planets, you can get into the program now. And I'm going to be putting everybody to work the next couple days. You don't have to wear sweatpants or have your running shoes on, but you're going to get a workout. And everything, all the charts I have in the book here, I would like you all to set up. And I'm going to be walking through this. So basically, I have a lot of blank charts on my I have all my data. Hopefully, you have all your data downloaded. If you don't have the list, we can get that for you. But you're going to be setting up everything that I've created in this book. And this is going to do a number of things. It's going to build confidence and teach you what to look for and how to apply this when you leave. But getting to the universal clock, I don't know, the numbers aren't showing up they're kind of faint here. But anyhow, they're multiples of 24, and you'll see planets around here. And this is a very, very effective timing tool. When planets come together on this wheel, it can bring reversals, and that's when you want, those are days you can look for, and it will be shown on the program with planets coming together on the wheel. On planets, you'll see if you go to aspects, it will tell you. You can determine when planets are crossing the line here, the 24 line, and when they come together on the wheel. And on the aspects research, it will tell you that. You can determine that. But I want to go back to the universal clock. If we set the date in January, I think it's around the 8th. You can go to page 10 in your book. No, I'm sorry, page 9 in your book. If you want to adjust the date, I have the real-time version, Fibonacci Galactic Trader. You just click on real-time. I just clicked on it, real-time off, then I clicked on the date, and then you can select the date. I'm going to January, I think it was around the 8th. And I circled this point, the 24 line. We had a very rare occurrence here. All these planets were crossing the 24 line, and they were all forming a grand trine. It was the Sun, North Node, and Jupiter were in a grand trine at the 24 line. And I think I mentioned in the third or fourth quarter almanac that should bring a major reversal or turn in many markets, and that was the top in gold. You can put your mouse on the planet, over the planet in the universal clock, and you'll see the positions. There's the North Node, 18 Taurus. Here's Jupiter, 18 Virgo. There's the Sun, almost at 18 Capricorn. Neptune at 12 Aquarius. These are all multiples of 24.
Is the 24 so important because so many of the aspects are linked to it?
Well, why does 24 work? Maybe that's the question. Well, there could be another number of reasons, but it could be